Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm your host, of course, Joe. And today I'm very excited to have my guest, Ian H. Ian has been sober since April 12th, 2008. He's originally from the Chicago area, when he spent a few years in California before finding sobriety back in Chicago. And for the past 12 years, he's actually called Knoxville, Tennessee home. He's deeply grateful for the recovery community that's helped shape his life here. Ian is married with 2 kids and says being present for his family is one of his greatest priorities. He stays active with golf, hiking, hot yoga, and live music, and gives back through volunteering with recovery groups, including programs that support incarcerated individuals and veterans. He's passionate about sharing hope and believes recovery is possible for anyone willing to ask for help. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Hi, Ian. How you doing today?
I'm great, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man. Thanks for your willingness. It means a lot. So I guess, what was it like growing up, Ian?
Painful. I had a relatively, like if I look at it objectively, like I had everything I needed, right? Like the lights were on, I had a roof, I had food, I had toys. I can't really say I was deprived of the basic necessities. But there was just something about the way I came into this world. It was just a little cockeyed, I never felt at peace. Like it just, even from a young age, man, I remember I was playing with like G.I. Joe's little action figures with my cousin. And I forget, he's like, something happened. I think I broke one of them, and I instantly started saying like, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. He's like, I didn't even blame you. He's like, you're the most defensive person I ever met. And I was like 6 or 7, dude. Like that was just how I was wired. Like I had such a hard time, like taking criticism or like accepting responsibility for things. And it just seemed like my brain was on fire all the time. Like I just would like stare at the ceiling and like just even from a super young age, and I often quote like my parents splitting was like kind of that defining moment in my childhood. But I think if anything, it was just sort of the moment where it just sort of like locked all the gears in place that I was sort of dysfunctional already. You know what I mean? There was just something about the way that I was born, man. I don't know. I can't describe it. And beyond that. And yeah, so I had a hard time connecting with people. Friends were, I had friends, but the relationships were always kind of volatile. It always seemed like there was some kind of like blow up. I remember getting in a fight with this neighbor kid, and he's like my best friend, but we were neighbors, but we would always go at it. And like one time I like jumped off a roof because he was chasing. It was like just insane. Like my relationships were always just a little. Can I swear on here? Is that like, or is this PG? Or like, they're just kind of fucked up. I don't know. They were just a little the same way like I described, like a little cockeyed. And that was my like early childhood. And when I was in puberty, well, my first drink was when I was 11 at a family reunion. And it just seemed like all that fire in my brain finally just kind of like was extinguished, and I just felt so free. And I didn't realize at the time, and what I've looked back and realized, I was very anxious. Like I was, my head was always on a swivel. Like I was always scanning to see who was paying attention to me, like eyes in the back of my head, like paranoid, just all the time, like everywhere. Cause I don't know if it was just because I always expected something bad to happen. You know, I was like naturally pessimistic. I'm like, somebody's coming. And alcohol just numbed all that, man. It just took it all away. I didn't care. Like I had no fear. It just took all the fear away. And I got drunk that first time, and I didn't drink again for a couple of years. And when I was 13, I tried again. I was like stealing liquor from my mom and getting sick and just doing weird stuff, like filling up, like water bottles, like hiding. That was like my first time hiding alcohol. It was like my second time drinking it. I was already hiding it. And started drinking to like show off, that was a big thing. Like I like the attention that drinking brought to me. It was like, oh, you're crazy or whatever. I just liked getting people's attention by doing that stuff. And it just progressed from there. And by the time I was a junior in high school, I think it's safe to say I was probably a full-blown alcoholic. That's when I started blacking out, driving drunk, getting arrested. And, my dad was the teacher at the high school I went to, and senior year, I got caught being drunk at school, and he had to like come up, and I got kicked out, and got my first DUI when I was 17. And when I graduated high school, I was 17. I was a young college bound drunk, and went to college, and that was where it really took hold, man. I was, I went and, went to a school and, made friends fast because I was super willing to party. And I was very likable for like the first 4 or 5 drinks. And then it would go off the rails. And it didn't take people all that long to find out that I was a total psycho when I was drunk. I mean, my behavior when I drink is very erratic. All inhibition is gone. My decision making is terrible. I'm not overly violent, although I have experienced periods of violence while drinking. Definitely put myself and others in danger with some of my behavior. And there's just something that, and I was told by somebody who had concern for me, it's like, what is it with you when you drink that it's like you become a different person? And my thought was, well, isn't that the point? Isn't that the point of drinking, is to become somebody else, to become like that Matrix style version of yourself, the person who's not afraid to talk to girls, the person who's not afraid to talk to get in a fight with a bigger, stronger person who did nothing to you. You just felt like showing off. And that's what I was. I was a total show off, which, like any $5 psychologist will tell you, is just, masquerading, insecurity. That's what it was. I mean, I was terribly insecure. I actually hated who I was. I didn't have any self-esteem. I used people to try to bolster my self-esteem, and ended up hurting a lot of people along the way. And had a nervous breakdown while I was in college, and ended up doing some physical damage to myself. And it just progressed, man. I don't know. I was just I would go to a party and be talking to people and pass out in the middle of a sentence, and then wake up and have no idea what happened. And this is a true story. I went in the bathroom of this party, and I think you may have heard me tell this story. I think I told this when I gave my share last time. I went in the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and my face was just covered in blood. And my first thought was that I said the wrong thing to the wrong person, and they popped me. And when I cleaned myself up, I had this big cut on my nose. And the guy whose place it was, I asked him, dude, what happened? Who beat me up? And he said, dude, you were just sitting there talking. Everything was fine. And then you passed out and went face first in the table. And it was like a glass table. And, seeing myself like that, you know, like Carrie from the horror movie Carrie, like that level of blood on my face, and realizing that that I did that to myself, uh, was very eye opening and very disturbing. But it wasn't even close to enough to get me to stop drinking. You know, I mean, that it just wasn't, the idea of stopping was just not an option. I always knew that I was going to have to probably stop at some point. Like, this is like bad. But I tried every conceivable way to control it. I would try different forms of booze, different, you know, I would have a good drunk on a certain kind of beer and think that that was the ticket, you know, and then I would try and drink that beer again and then have a terrible experience. And then, okay, well, back to the drawing board, you know, like vodka does weird things to me. Tequila, you know, is fun for a minute and then it does weird things. But it just became like all of a sudden, all these different, you know, I would try all these different ways, but they would all lead back to the same conclusion, which is that I would wake up feeling absolutely either depressed or terrified or, you know, embarrassed, a lot of embarrassment, tons of shame, tons of shame about the way that I behaved, because in my mind, I was better than my behavior. You know, I hated myself and I hated who I had become, but I still had this idea, like you know, that I had a conscience still, like I still knew what I was doing was wrong and I felt bad about it. And the only way I knew how to deal with that was, you know, continue drinking. And by the time I was 21, I had my second DUI and was in some serious trouble because in Illinois where that happened, I had 2 DUIs within a, you know, 4-year stretch. And they take that very serious, or at least they did. That was, you know, 20 plus years ago. And I was court ordered to do a lot of alcohol rehabilitation and some recovery programs. And that planted the seed, but it wasn't quite enough. You know, I still wasn't quite ready. And then I did that deal, got cleared from all the courts and all those things. And it wasn't until I moved to California and I was like on again, off again. At that point, I knew I was an alcoholic. Like there was no question about what I was. The only question was what was I willing to do to stop? You know, what was I willing to try? How long could I hold out? You know, I did a lot of, you know, willpower, white knuckling kind of stuff, you know, just trying to convince myself that if I just stayed dry long enough that I'd be able to drink like a normal, sane person one day, you know, just hoping against hope that like somehow I would just like magically be like normal. And the day never came. The day never came. And, you know, I was with a girl and we ended up getting married, and I'm still with her to this day. And we have 2 beautiful kids. And she knew me for a lot of that. And I did some damage there. But, you know, when we moved back to Chicago, we got married, and you know, she did not enable me, but she knew she couldn't stop me. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I told so many lies trying to convince her, oh, I got it under control this time. I'm okay this time. Cause for a little while I would, right? Like I'd be able to like manage it just enough where it didn't seem like it was that bad. And it would always, you know, eventually end up to just uncontrollable drinking and blacking out and, you know, just terrible decisions. And then there was one night where I was just drinking by myself on the porch, and I just had the most insane thoughts. I couldn't even tell you what they were. I just felt insane, just totally disconnected from reality. Because that's why I drank, right? Like I just had a really hard time coping with reality, and which is sort of pathetic in a lot of respects because of my like external reality. It was like never that bad. Like I was being put through school and I had jobs and I never lost a job and I like never really suffered major consequences externally, like on paper for my drinking. It was all the internal damage that I did, the spiritual damage that I did. You know, I really hurt myself with alcohol for a lot of years, and intentionally, you know, it was like this cycle of self-sabotage and self-flagellation, you know, like just with liquor and beer. And I woke up that day, the day after, which is, you know, April 12th, 2008. And I just heard this voice, this overwhelming sense that just said, you're not meant to be this unhappy. And it didn't say like, it wasn't like you deserve more or like you deserve to be happy. It just says you weren't meant to be this unhappy. That's the voice that came over me. And I decided to take some serious steps towards sobriety, and I reached out for help, and I found it, and I stuck with it. And I did what, you know, I found guys like me that were sober and were happy about being sober. And I did what they told me to do. And it stuck, you know, and I'm very grateful it stuck, because as I'm sure you have too, like I've known a lot of people where it didn't stick and they're no longer with us, you know. I lost my cousin this disease. I lost, you know, friends, guys that I've tried to help spread the message to pass away. You know what I mean? It is a fatal disease. And it's really hard to watch that and realizing that that's what I was doing to my family, and that's what I was doing to my wife. And, you know, I feel very blessed that my kids have never seen me drunk, although I speak with them quite regularly and openly about what I was like, so that they don't ever have to experience it. You know, they get enough of a taste with it without actually seeing it. It's like watching a trailer for a scary movie. Like you don't need to see the whole thing. You know, you get enough of. There was like the movie that used to do that to me was Child's Play. You remember that movie with the little psycho doll Chucky? Man, when I saw that trailer, this has nothing to do with recovery, but when I saw that trailer, I was so scared I ran out of the room. Like I was like, whoever edited that trailer was so gifted that I literally ran out of the room. And it took me till I was like 16 years old to watch that movie. I think I was like 10 when it came out. But that's the kind of thing, right? Like sometimes just if you paint the right picture, you don't need to see the whole landscape for yourself, you know, like it's just, that's how I take it. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for the people that I've met along the way. I've met some incredible human beings who have lived through a lot more challenging scenarios than I have, and they came out the right way, and it shows. You know, it's like I really enjoy meeting and talking to other people in recovery, because the hope that they have, that they share, that they wear, is just so inspiring, and real like redemption stories. Like I love that shit. I love hearing about like women who like lost their kids and got them back. I have friends who that's happened to, and they're very solid members of society, and you know, lives that have been completely destroyed. People who are homeless, people who came back from the dead, you know, like all kinds of stories. I'm sure you've heard too, Joe. Like it's just, there's so much to be learned from that as humans. You know, like what we recover from, you know, like when we say recovery, it's like, what does that really mean? And it's like, we're coming out of like a seriously hopeless state of mind where like, we just wish for death. You know, it's like death seems like the easier way than like living. And when we don't feel like that anymore, it's miraculous. It's such a blessing, and something that I'm so grateful that I get to experience. And I have to remind myself, I love doing things like this, you know, just talking about what it used to be like, so that I remember what it was like without having to re-experience it. But man, shit, I've been talking for like 20 minutes already. Do you have any questions, or like where you want to go?
You make my life easy, Ian. I appreciate. I knew you would. That's why I invited you on.
Pop the cork of the champagne bottle. The bubbles are gonna follow, man.
No, you know, it's funny you were talking about as you know, young. When you mentioned Child's Play, the thing that came to my mind was when I was in second grade, a movie called Grizzly came out. And here's my overreaction. I was scheduled to go on my second grade camping trip, and I refused to go because I swore I'd get attacked by a bear if I went on the second grade camping trip. And I literally wouldn't go. And then the movie Jaws came out, and then I wouldn't go to the beach, and I wouldn't go in the pool, and I was afraid to take a bath. I mean, it was like, way over there. But those are the things that came to mind when you said some of that stuff. But
I mean, that's interesting to bring up, because it's like one of the things that I feel like as alcoholics and addicts, like one of the things we do is convince ourselves that certain things are real that are not. Right. Like that's part of it. Like, oh, this is definitely going to happen. I mean, that's why I would stay, like I mentioned, the top of the cast, like I would convince myself, or I was so like envisioning scenarios that like were nowhere near reality, but like negatively affected me. And I would just live in like this perpetual fear cycle that like this was going to happen. And man, when those thoughts don't stop, the only way to like calm them down is like, for some people it's drugs. My story is alcohol. I've done cocaine once in my life. Like it was, I'm just never been a drug guy. And my rationale for that was like, well, if I don't do drugs, then I must not have a problem. Right. Alcohol is all over the place. It's on the sports, billboards. It's like, it's everywhere. This is a socially acceptable thing. As long as I'm not doing hard, illicit narcotics, then I can't be that bad. And wrong. Like it's definitely false.
It's legal. It can't be bad. No, it's
300 million people can't be wrong.
Yeah. The other thing when you're talking about how you try different ways to stop different types, and thinking, oh, it was this that really did me good. This one didn't do so good. And I think a lot of us have experienced that kind of stuff, just changing. It was never what it really was. I couldn't be an alcoholic because if I was, I'd have to do something about it. That was my, that's how I was. But I guess one of the questions I had was early on in your recovery, like what were some of the what were some of the hardest parts early on, and what was some of the things you learned early on in recovery?
I think one of the hardest parts for me was accepting accountability, like and responsibility, and really looking at myself. I always thought of myself as kind of like a victim, like, oh, it's the world that's, crazy. I'm just stuck here. And having to look at how I was interacting with the world, or how I would take situations that hurt me and use that as justification to hurt other people. Like that's kind of a tough pill to swallow, no pun intended. It was just looking at the totality of my drinking and all the things that I had done was really hard. Getting honest was really hard. But I also feel like that's where a lot of the freedom came from. There were a lot of things that I had to come clean about that I swore I never would. And when I did that, I was able to some of the power that stuff had over me was gone. And so it was like the most difficult and also the most rewarding part was just like really taking an honest look at myself and having somebody to help me do that. It's not necessarily a process you can do on your own. Because you got to have somebody there to kind of be like, sure about that, or to push you a little further. And it also helps to have that trust, right? So like a big thing for me was trust. Like I did not trust people. And what ended up happening is I started to not trust people because of my own behavior. Right. So like at first I was like not trusting people because they hurt me. And then it was like, well, I don't trust you because this is what I would do, and I would like try to get over on you first. You know what I mean? So then I stopped trusting people because I was untrustworthy. And so taking that little leap of faith to trust another person, and in a way that I never really had, and tell them things about myself that they easily could have weaponized against me. And they didn't. instead they related their experience and made me feel like I wasn't alone. Like I have a condition, you know, I'm an alcoholic, and but in order to treat that, you know, you've got to do certain things, and you got to be willing to work for it. And a big part of that was honesty, and being able to find that person that I could trust and get honest with, helped reestablish that. And being able to be that person back gave me that little bit of self-esteem. And so what I started to realize as I started on my recovery journey, however you want to phrase it, is that my self-esteem was always sort of contingent on what I thought other people thought of me. Right. I was trying to like manipulate people's perception of me because I wanted you to like me or whatever it was, or want me or whatever. And the reality is for me that self-esteem comes from taking esteemable action and doing things that are right, even though they're not necessarily beneficial to me, you know? And when I started doing those things, I started to feel like, okay, maybe I'm not as bad a person as my actions suggest. And it helped me to feel that true, what I think is true self-esteem. You know, it helped me to, for lack of a better phrase, love myself, you know, despite my faults. And I really believe that I don't, you know, I think we oftentimes talk about people like, oh, he's a good person or a bad person, but it's like I just think we are what we do, you know, like I'm a complex emotional creature. Like I have just as much ability to do harm today as I did, you know, 17 years ago or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we all have that in us, but today I try to be conscious to make good decisions. And when I say good decisions, I mean, make decisions that help other people. And I'm still selfish, you know, I still make a lot of selfish decisions, and I still spend a lot of time thinking about myself. I would say like the difference now is being able to understand that with that comes a certain level of discomfort, you know? And so I have certain tools that I can utilize and people that I can lean on to help me get out of that mentality so that I'm not spiraling. Before I would just drink. Like that was the way, you know, it's like, oh, I feel sad today, I'm just going to drink. Or I feel angry, I'm just going to drink. Or I feel great, I'm just going to drink. You know, it was always just like this way of being able to disconnect from reality. Well, I don't view reality the same way I did when I was drinking. And so I don't have that need to disassociate from it. I'm not running anymore, you know, which is a very long answer to your question.
But there's a lot of good stuff in there because, you know, a couple of things you made me think about was, and I heard this early on was, you know, we're not bad people trying to get good. We're sick people trying to get better.
Perfect.
You know, and then the other thing was, old timer Tom Wells, shout out to him. He's no longer with us, but he would always say, if my sobriety is based on the way I feel, I'm in a world of shit, you know? And so, no, that's what you reminded me of. And you brought up tools, and I think those are, you know, we talk about tools, you know, in recovery, you know, tools laid by our feet. What are some of your favorite tools, or the tools that you use maybe the most, your kind of go-tos to help get you through, you know, the times you need it?
The first one that I practice the most regularly is making sure that I'm in contact with at least one other alcoholic or addict a day. Like I have to be in touch with somebody. If I go more than a day, it's like I have it set up now where I don't even have to try. Like I'm either it's just like you know, oh, I got to text so-and-so, or they text me or whatever. And we just kind of, I'm just I'm in it enough where it's easy. It's like, I don't know. It's like it's just taking medicine, man. I don't know. Like I always equate it to like diabetics, you know what I mean? Like diabetics don't sit around and fucking think about like having to take their insulin all day, like, oh, why me or why me? I mean, I'm sure some do, but the ones I know just do it. They just do it. Like they just do what they got to do because they like being alive. And so if I treat recovery like that, it's the same thing, you know, like I have to just do certain things every day. Talking to other addicts and alcoholics, I try to surround myself with them. I try to go to recovery meetings. You know, when I was new, I was going like once a day or every other day. I've scaled back now. I go to maybe like one a week, maybe 2 a week, but I have other things within the recovery community that I do, different, you know, commitments and things like that. You know, I work with other guys that are trying to recover. That's a big one, you know, being in a position to do that. And then, you know, really being kind of constantly mindful of like, where am I at spiritually? You know, like, am I tense? Am I angry? Am I worrying about money? Am I, you know, worrying about everything going on in the world? Am I, you know, just kind of, am I being greedy? Like what, I just have to check myself, you know, I have to do kind of like that inventory and look at where I'm at. And, because it doesn't take long for me to like slowly back away from all the things that have worked forever. Cause like the way it is for me is that I think of it as, I do consider a disease, you know, a spiritual disease for me. And a symptom of that is that it wants me to withdraw, and it tries to get me alone. And so I have to do things to prevent that from happening, you know? And I think about, I try to always look up. It sounds super corny, but like, I honestly, like if I feel myself like getting too wound up, like I really try to just like look at a tree or the sky, and like the things that I easily take for granted, I try to not, like, I'm conscious to like, don't take that for granted. You know, don't take your heartbeat for granted. Don't take your lungs filling up with air for granted. Don't take the things. Sometimes, I mean, my kids make fun of me because I'll save bugs in the house. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people just get out of my house. I mean, I'll try and save animals. Now, I'm not saying that to brag about it. I'm saying that as a tool for recovery. You know, like appreciating life and treating it as fragile. Because when I drank, I had absolutely zero respect for my own life and for other people's lives. I didn't care a lick, you know. I just took everything for granted. And so, you know, trying to just be conscious about that and not do that anymore. So those are a few things for sure.
No, those are great. We're having a real therapy session, Ian. I am a bug saver myself. You know, I now have my wife saving bugs. It was something, you know, she didn't bring that into the marriage. I think I did. It's one of the good things I brought in. But yeah, I think it's important. And you know, I never thought of it. I always thought of it as showing empathy to other creatures. You know, something I didn't have when I was out drinking and drugging and all that. I didn't have a lot of empathy, but you saying that, having that appreciation for life, that's a hell of a way to put it. It really is. That hit home with me. The other thing I think, because you've mentioned it a couple times, alcoholism as a disease or addiction as a disease, you know, and I look at it that way too. I remember, you know, being taught, you know, it's considered a disease because it's incurable, and it's progressive, and it's fatal. And those are three of the signs of a disease, I think, by the World Health Organization. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor. I play one on TV. Yeah. But yeah, you know, but yeah, I think it's I struggled with that when I was being told that early on, like, you know, you have this disease, and I'm like, I'm not sick, you know, but the truth is we are sick. We're spiritually sick. And
it's the thing is too, is like, if it's not a disease, then what is it? Am I just cursed? Like, am I just fucked? Like what is it then? Like what is wrong with me? Or, I don't know, man, you're just fucked up. Well, that's not going to help me towards a solution. If I have a disease, then it's almost like you can test things to try to treat it, right? You have evidence of what will and will not work. And for me, the things that I've been doing for the last 17 years have worked. I feel like I'm not perfect. I'm not a guru. I don't like do this thing perfectly all the time. I'm just not drunk. I don't want to be drunk. I don't want to live that way anymore. And I think that there is a lot of, humility is something that is like, it's like the sun. Like you get a little, like if you stare at it, well, maybe that's not the right way that's not the right analogy. It's like, okay, here's what humility is. Like the little squiggly things in your eye, and the more you try to see it, the more further it moves away. That's humility. And for me, like it is the best feeling to get that, to have that sense of humility. And the problem with it is that as soon as you acknowledge that you're feeling that, it disappears. And so that's like the new drug. It's like the thing you can't really acquire, which is interesting. And so it, like, my results, what's nice about recovery is that I don't really have to like prove it to anybody. It's all me. It's how am I feeling? Like, am I okay today? Do I want to, drink? I had a surgery last year and they gave me drugs, and I was like, oh, so this is what being an addict is like. Cause I was like, so I mean, I don't identify as an addict, but I mean, I think I have the same, it's just a difference of like, whatever you like to shoot or drink or what, it doesn't even matter. It's like the mentality and the spiritual disorder. So at any rate, all that is to say, like, if I think about it like a disease, then I have like a set of tools and ideas and practices that I can use to treat it. And when I do that, I feel less inclined to drink. Like I feel myself moving further away from it as opposed to moving closer to it. And that's all I care about. Like, I don't really need somebody's like opinion on it. I don't need to see like a study done on it. I don't really need any of that. I don't need somebody else's validation about what I have. I just know what's worked for me, and I go with that. If it didn't work, I wouldn't do it. And it's worked so far. So.
No, and that's, yeah, I like that. It's, because there is a solution to it, or a cure, or however you want to look at it. There is
I think
you and I both have found that.
I don't think there is a cure. I mean, there's not a cure, because I mean, if I stopped doing all the things I know work, I would probably drink. It might be a slow burn, but I think eventually I would. At some point, someone would say the wrong thing, or someone would cut me off in traffic, or my wife would say the wrong thing, or my kids would do something to upset me, and I would just be like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go for it. Fuck it. Like for me, I know that is possible, because I did that, Joe. I did that so many times where I'd be like, this is what's fascinating about it is I think at one point I'd gone without drinking for like 2 years. I was like smoking pot, a little bit here and there. But I'd gone without drinking for 2 years. And like when I decided to drink again, it was like, okay, like that fast, it's just so strange. And so I know for myself, like if I just gave up, if I stopped doing recovery, if I stopped doing all the tools that using all the tools that I laid out and talked to you about, I don't know how long it would take. I just know that eventually I would probably drink again. So I don't think there is a cure for what I have. And I think if I drank again, it would be just as bad as when I stopped. What's nice is that I don't feel any kind of urge to test that theory. I don't really, like I said, I don't really have anything to prove. I just know that I'm happier not drinking than when I was drinking. And I mean, that's all the evidence I need,
Yeah, that was, I take back the word cure. That's not what I meant. I meant solution, and I was trying to think of another word for solution. So,
well, I didn't mean to correct you. I probably should have just shut my mouth on that.
No, it was a great correction, because you were right. As soon as I said it, I was like, ugh. I didn't, because that's one of the things I had just said. It's incurable, and then I'm like,
I'm a rude guest. No,
you're an awesome guest, dude. Not rude at all. I need to be straightened out. You know what I mean, Ian? It's like, that's the cool thing about two people in recovery talking to each other is I get to see where I'm not quite right, where my thinking isn't quite right, and share it with somebody else. And they go, your thinking's not quite right. So no, it's
well, the other thing is
something you
go ahead. No,
yeah.
You go.
No. Go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then I'll come in and up.
I mean, that's what I guess. What something like this, like your show. I mean, for me, what's fascinating about it is like, I mean, for someone who like has no idea anything about this, they might like find it like super boring or just confusing. I don't know. But I think for people that are in recovery, the reason we like to talk about it so much is because we're almost like shocked by the difference, like we can't even believe like we're the same person that did all that stuff, that I mean, like my favorite thing to do is not my favorite thing. A thing I really enjoy in recovery is seeing people, and I wish I had this, but like their mugshot flip book, where you can kind of see the progression of them going through, like as they're using was getting worse and worse and worse. And then you learn what they're doing with their lives today. And like a lot of them are like in social work and like or they're like recovery counselors. And like, I mean, the stories are amazing, and they've dedicated their lives to helping people exactly like them. And it's just so uplifting. Like, I don't know, it's just hard to put into words. I mean, like what we do for each other is, we help each other find something that we thought was utterly lost. And it's hope. Like we just feel hopeful when we do this thing. And, I mean, that's why we tell jokes and we laugh and we're like, well, what's so funny? I mean, like you're recovering from a hopeless condition. It's like, yeah, I am. And the opposite of that is to be hopeful. And so when you have that and you're like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I love to laugh. I love to joke because I like to be alive today. I didn't feel that way when I was drunk. I would wish I wouldn't wake up, and I don't feel that way anymore. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy about it.
That's a big deal. I think we're all
that's a big deal.
We're all miracles. I never want to forget that, being on here with you or just getting through a day without having to drink or do anything else to change the way I feel it's a miracle. And I'm grateful for that. I wanted to ask you, because I think for somebody maybe out there that's listening and maybe new or, you mentioned esteemable acts.
Yeah.
What to you is an esteemable act?
This one's fun because I feel like it sounds more fancy than it is. A big one for me is doing the dishes. Like that was like, it sounds so simple and foolish, and maybe you don't have a problem doing it. I hated doing dishes. Hated it. And so esteemable acts for me now are doing the things I don't want to do, but that I know need to be done, and having the courage to do them. And sometimes it can be a big thing, like taking a personal inventory and really looking through your history and getting honest about the things you've done. There's different practices that go along with that, righting the wrongs of the past. But esteemable acts are when I show courage, because I'm a pretty fearful guy by nature. That's why I drank, to deal with my fears. So when I show courage, when I show kindness, but especially, maybe sometimes the people that it may feel like don't deserve it, and sometimes sometimes you hear this phrase in recovery, like spiritual gangster. I'm going to just say this, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I hate that fucking phrase. And here's why: because gangsters take. They're thieves. They bully. It's not a good look. And I know people like to try and make recovery look cool and hip, but if you want to do that, it's better to be a spiritual ninja. Do the things that are good and kind, and no one fucking knows you're doing it. That to me is cool. Like just doing little acts of decency and kindness and not bragging about it, not telling everybody you do it. And sometimes it can be like letting somebody pull in front of you, or like picking somebody's wallet up and actually returning it, you know, like whatever it is, it's just things that you know are right. And instead of being selfish and greedy and taking, like, what can I give, you know, of myself? And when I do that, I still fight that. I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, Mother Teresa over here. I'm a very flawed man, but I do know that when I'm able to do those things, I feel a sense of self-esteem. And what that means is that I don't have any fear about what other people think of me. And the freedom from that fear is priceless, man. Priceless for somebody like me who obsessed about it for decades. You know, like being able to just be like, I really don't care. Like, I know where I stand, and I know who I'm trying to be. But I also feel like that's where humility comes into play, because I have to sort of acknowledge all the things I have done in the past, you know? And so that's where it's like good person, bad person. It's like that, like those monikers don't quite, you know, line up anymore. It's just, am I doing a good thing today or am I doing a bad thing today? Did I, you know, say something I shouldn't have? Okay, fine. I made a mistake. Did I try and correct that? You know, and then if I did, and because a lot of people don't want to do that, man. I know that feeling. Like, I don't care. I'm sticking to my guns. I told that guy to fuck off and I meant it. But it's like, you know, his mom just died or whatever, you know, like this whole, like, you don't know what's going on with people. And so when we don't consider that, and you brought up empathy, I think it's like super critical, man. Like that was a big lesson I learned. I should say that. Like, I learned that I don't know what somebody has going on, you know, unless I ask them. And so someone could be a total dick and I could just be like, that guy hates me. Like, what's their problem? Instead of being like, I wonder what's going on with that guy that made him like that. And that was taught to me. That wasn't like an Ian original. Like, that idea was taught to me and planted in my head. Like, you don't know what's going on with somebody. Sometimes you have to like remove yourself from your feelings and recognize that maybe it's not just about you. Maybe they have a lot going on and they're not processing their feelings the right way, and it's just being directed at you. Well, when you think about it like that, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, maybe I should actually see if I can help them. You know, it's like a totally different mentality. Like, and before I would just be like, fuck that guy, I'm getting drunk, you know? So
it reminds me of the prayer of St. Francis, which is,
sure,
you know,
yeah, great one.
it is
Great one.
always better to understand than to be understood, and better to love than to be loved. And you know, that's stuff that's hard. It doesn't come natural. You know, that's not something I'm not naturally thinking of you before me.
Well, and it's even harder,
not, but
it's a much harder thing to a closed mind, right? And so a big part of recovery from, and part of, and I mean, I think whether you're new to it or you've been doing it forever, is we always have to kind of be willing to reopen our minds. You know what I mean? Because over time, right? Like, I've been doing this 17 years. Like, that sounds big and fancy. And I may like slowly be like, no. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And then I'm closed off, and then I can't hear anything anymore. Well, then if I get in a pickle and I'm like, I don't even understand. Well, you know what I mean? It's like, we have to kind of be willing to like learn all the time. Like, if I'm like, no, this is how recovery is. I've got it. I'm a master. I got a PhD in this. I know what's going on. I mean, think of all the things I miss, you know, because I've already decided that it's just this one way. I mean, I've at least learned that like, I can't be 100% convinced that the way I perceive it is exactly how it is. Like, that's not going to hold up. I have to be willing to like learn and like accept new ideas.
And that, you know, willingness is the key. You said the word. You know, I think it's being willing to remain open-minded, willing to learn, you know, that kind of stuff. And like you said, you've been doing it a long time. You know, it's really easy to, you know, rest on our laurels, you know, and it's important not to. I know you do a lot of service. What's some of the things that you've enjoyed the most, or maybe gotten the most out of doing service?
I've really enjoyed working, doing service work in corrections, although I will be completely transparent and say that this this year in particular, I've sort of taken a step back from some of that just for a variety of reasons. But that has been one of the most rewarding experiences, is being involved in bringing recovery meetings into jails and learning just about, like, every year there's like a big conference for people that do that service work. And it's, man, the stories you hear there are unbelievable, like unbelievable. It's so inspiring. And I've really enjoyed that. I've recently been trying to, I'm not a veteran, but I have such a soft spot for like how our veterans are treated. Because I think largely it's not great. They have a hard time getting services. There's a lot of studies that have been done about, mental health and veterans and what they go through. And so trying to, help get a recovery meeting going for service members that's facilitated by service members. So like, I'm not in there doing it, it's, and that has gone great. Cause I was like, okay, this is like one thing I want to try to help with, and then found some veterans that were like-minded, and now it's their thing, and it's it. And that's one of those things, like, I'm bringing it up only because you asked, but like I don't take any, credit for that. It's not like I didn't do anything, I didn't, like, if anything, I passed the basket, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. And, but that's all it takes, you know what I mean? And so like, that's what's so great about it, is like, you don't have, like, I don't need like the meeting to be called the E&H Memorial Veterans Meeting. Like, I don't need that shit. Like, what I take the like satisfaction from is like someone else being like, yes, this is important, and like, we need to help. And like, and then it just, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just little things like that. And it requires like so little effort. So those are like the two volunteer things that I've been involved with, that I found the most rewarding, just because like the veterans thing, you know what I mean? Because I just never served, you know what I mean? I never gave for my country like they gave. And so being able to just like, what that allows me to do is like say thank you. Like, I actually want you to be alive and like healthy, and like it matters. And that, like I said, they've taken that and they've run with it, and it's doing really well. And I don't know, I just, that and working, like I said, working with other guys is very rewarding. Just not keeping it, you know what I mean? I don't like taking all the stuff I've learned on how to do this and just being like, mine. I got to keep this like stockpile of recovery knowledge, and that's how I'm going to get through this. It's like not at all how I've stayed sober. It's like always been like, here, this is like, I didn't make this up. This is just, I'm just telling you what worked for me. You can like do it or not do it. It's up to you. But I will literally tell you exactly how I did it, like line for line. And if it works for you, awesome. And just being like somebody trustworthy, that somebody feels like they can actually talk to and be vulnerable with, and not taken advantage of. That right there is probably the biggest thing, because I took advantage of a lot of people when I was drinking, and I don't do that anymore, which is nice to be able to say and mean.
No, it's a big deal. It's really, we're different people. You are a different person than I love that you were involved with the veterans meeting, because I've heard really good things about it. I'm not a veteran either, but I know some of the veterans that attend that meeting and how much it means to them, and it's such a cool thing that honestly, that we don't have to be, I don't have to be an ex-convict to go in and help people that are in prison, and I don't have to be, a retired vet to help veterans if that's what I'm passionate about. And, and you said it, because I it doesn't have to be big things either. It can be little things, being of service to other people doesn't have to be a major thing all the time. And
well,
so I think you're a wonderful example.
The one thing that's funny about that, veteran thing is that one of the guys who took it, he was like, he wrote me this text. It was like super sweet. And but it was basically like, we got it from here. Like, thank you for everything you've done, but we're good now. And it's like, old Ian would have been like, what? This is the E&H Memorial Veterans Meeting. Like, you can't do this. And Joe, like, in all honesty, it was like, okay, like, that's it. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need, and I don't know. It's maybe hard to articulate. It's just like being able to not give a shit about stuff like that, because I'm focused on what the goal actually was, which is like helping guys who have been through crazy stuff, like things I can't even imagine, stay sober and stay alive, and like rebuild their life. Like, that is all that matters. It's not about me. I was still tickled by it. Like, it just totally cracked me up. Like, because he said it in like the nicest possible way. Like, I was like, this guy is like gifted. Like, if I ever needed to break some terrible news to somebody, I'm going to have this guy write the text. It was perfect.
I love that. That's like, so yeah, that's really, and it's cool. It's because, it sounds like you're able to take your ego out of it, which is a big deal, and just be of service. I guess let me ask, if there's somebody out there listening right now that's maybe feeling hopeless, what would you say to somebody, who's maybe feeling that hopeless condition right now?
I would say that it might be hard to believe that you're not alone, and that there's a lot of people that understand what that feels like. And there are genuine people who can help. You just have to be willing to go get it and ask for it. It's not just going to magically fall in your lap. You've got to take that leap of faith that there is help out there.
And that's the hard part, is taking some action. There are definitely people out there that want to help. But taking that first action step like you did to get into recovery, it's a huge deal, man. It's a huge deal.
So many people, like I said, just deal with the like trust issues too. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, what's in it for them? Like, what do they want from me? And the recovery community that I happen to be a part of, I don't know. It's not like that.
For me either. My old sponsor, he would say, he said, people used to say to me that, you were brainwashed in a cult. He said, well, if you drank as much as I did, you need your brainwash too.
True.
Anyway, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't?
Man, I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm just really grateful to not obsess over it anymore. To not to not wake up and feel all those things that I used to feel when I was drunk. Like, it was horrible. It was just horrible. And it's sort of like you said, it's miraculous. I don't know. I just think I think, yes, I consider it like miraculous, but I guess the thing that I have a hard time saying that, because I feel like I don't consider myself like special. Like, I feel like, and this is the other thing for someone who's maybe listening that's new, is like, it's not an exclusive club. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have any other special skills to get sober. You just need to be open-minded and willing, and just take a few steps of few leaps of faith, and just try and put yourself in the middle of it. I mean, there's so many people in recovery. Like, you are bound to find somebody that is like you, and that for me, that was huge. Like, I needed to see people that I thought were kind of like me, like young, creative, types when, at least youngish when I got sober. It's not quite so much now, but that's the thing. Like I needed to see, cause it wasn't that I needed to see them to prove to me that it could be done, that they could actually like not drink and use. I needed to see them enjoying life that way. Like that's what I needed to see. I needed to see them going to music shows. I needed to see them creating art. I needed to see them going on dates. I needed to see them being part of life and doing that without alcohol, which was impossible for me. I couldn't understand how anyone did it. I could not do anything without being drunk. You know, I couldn't go to concerts. I couldn't dance. I couldn't, do anything. I mean, you should see me at weddings now. It's embarrassing as hell, but like, I don't care. Like I will dance. Like my daughter had this event and like I won best dad dancer and it was horrendous, Joe. Like it was so bad, but they knew I was just having fun and being stupid and I didn't care. And so that's why I won. It was it. It was just that freedom from like being so obsessed with what everybody else thinks, And I don't know. I really hope anybody who wants to live sober is able to find it. I really do. It's not exclusive. The more the merrier,
No, well said. And I will never let you live down the best dad dancer.
Oh, it was so bad.
That's awesome. I love it.
Although
I literally have my
daughter the year before. The guy who did it, the guy who won the year before, like pulled out his hip and like broke his knee. Like, he fucked himself all up trying to win. I didn't have to go that far. I did it on my moderate repertoire of moves.
Yeah. No, the guy the year before sounds like what would have happened to me had I made the attempt. That's all I can say. So I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome. But thank you so much for sharing your story, Ian. And but I can't let you go without doing our rapid fire questions.
Oh yes. I've been waiting an hour for this.
I know. That's what Ian said when I talked to him earlier. He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I can't wait to do those." And it's the first time I've ever heard. I can't wait to do those. So, all right, Ian. No pressure.
All right.
All right. What is your favorite recovery slogan?
One day at a time.
What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
Think, think, think. Oh, one more time. You muted yourself on that one.
I do that at least once an episode. I mute myself while I'm talking. What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
Listening.
If you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
It'll be okay.
What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
That's a tough. I don't know if I have a one song. I'll tell you what I'm listening to right now. It's the whole album of Megadeth, Rust in Peace.
Nice.
It's so good, man.
Nice. Yeah. If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
Well, like I said, permanent humility.
What step do you love the most?
I guess 12.
What step do you love the least?
3.
What is one of your favorite movies?
Color of Money.
Nice. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You did good.
Well, you did good tonight, man. Thank you so much, Ian, for sharing
Those are
sharing
kind
your
of
story
tough.
and sharing.
Tough.
I think you did great. Anyway, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
No,
It's
Joe,
been
I
a pleasure.
just want to say thank you to you for doing it, man. It's a nice outlet. It's a nice, I don't know, you're a good listener, and I appreciate you just giving me a chance to tell a story a different way.
Yeah, thank you, man. And for the rest of you folks out there, please subscribe to our friends at thedailyponderables.com, your recovery source for inspiration and encouragement every day. A new episode of The Cup of Joe Show is released every Thursday at noon. Visit thecupofjoeshow.net, or you can listen to the show on your favorite podcast apps, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the "the." Please like, follow, subscribe, and share, because someone out there needs to hear this today. Have a great day, everybody.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's experience, strength, and hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to The Cup of Joe Show.